a story of hope, and this could be a story about you. Every day in America, disaster visits someone, whether it be western wildfires whose flames and smoke take lives and property, raging tornadoes that scatter communities as if they were tiny specks of dust, terrible flooding that washes away the dreams of families all over America, and hurricanes, which do the most widespread damage in the shortest amount of time. August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina wipes out much of New Orleans. The worst natural disaster in U.S. history blew away hope for scores of people. Katrina killed almost 2,000 and forever changed the fabric of one of America's most vibrant cities. Thousands of homes and businesses are still a mess in New Orleans, crumbling monuments to the storm that blew in from the Gulf, and the second storm that is still blowing away hopes for New Orleanians. It's called the insurance storm. We should all pay close attention to what happened to the victims of Katrina, because one never knows when disaster will visit. In the wake of Katrina, millions of victims turned to their insurance companies for help. Some of them got it, but many, many others did not.
It was total chaos dealing with my insurance company.
The insurance companies let everyone down.
They didn't offer me anything. I had to hire lawyers to receive this help. They didn't offer me a quarter.
This could be you. Are you really confident that if something happens to your home or business, that your insurance company will make you whole? Many people in New Orleans thought that, but they were wrong. Years of insurance chaos would change their lives forever. It all began with about 12 hours of hurricane hell. During Katrina, about 50 levees in and around New Orleans were breached, but this is the one the world was watching. Everyone wondered if the old levee that was here would stand the test of this hurricane. It didn't. This beautiful new one was built by the Army Corps of Engineers at a cost of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. It separates the canal on one side from New Orleans' historic 9th Ward on the other. But during Katrina, a big old barge smashed through the old levee that used to stand here and let all that water in. What happened? The historic 9th Ward was history in just a few moments. Now, years after Katrina, the tour bus operators are making some money showing tourists what the old 9th Ward looks like now. People stare at new homes built by Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's foundation, and they wonder what really happened here. Why does so much of New Orleans still look like this?
Max, before they tear this thing down, we need to get a complete drawing on it. We need to get photographs.
These men believe they know the answer to that question. New Orleans looks like this years after Katrina because many insurance companies did anything they could to avoid paying Katrina victims. It's that simple. Max Johnson, Rick Clark, Tony Hall, and Troy Black are the leaders of a national company called Branch Consultants. Branch was born out of the overwhelming need to help people in New Orleans fight the insurance companies. You see, Max and Rick came to New Orleans right after Katrina to work for the insurance companies as claims adjusters. But something strange happened.
Maybe about 6 weeks into it, reports were missing. And what was kind of ironic about that was that the reports, we would fax them in, email them, and FedEx them. And the company says they weren't receiving them. Then I'd get the clients to call and say, I thought you turned my reports in. And I said, I did. They said, well, the insurance company doesn't have them. I said, well, do you have an email address? And I'll send it to you. And within a couple hours, I get a call from the insurance company going, you're not supposed to turn those reports, you're not supposed to give those reports to the insureds. I'm like, well, if you don't have my reports when I faxed them, emailed them, FedExed, then I'm gonna make sure that the client has that.
Rick and Max said the insurance companies for which they were adjusting started playing all kinds of games. The bottom line was that victims were not getting paid. These were desperate people who'd lost everything.
The victims was really pitiful, and I guess the day, Rich, that I decided to change sides, one of my partners at the time, another adjuster, had been out to see this claim, and I won't go into the neighborhood right now, but went into this house, and this lady was sitting there with a little baby, maybe 20 inches long, sitting on this couch. It was just black with mold. Mold growing up the wall, black mold, mold growing across the ceilings. And he said, a little harshly, I guess, to this lady, "Lady, you really shouldn't be in this house with that little baby." She looked up at him with tears in her eyes and said, "Sir, I don't have anywhere else to go." Now, Rich, I got to thinking about those guys that's sitting up there in New Jersey and New York in their ivory mansions, and they could care less about these poor people down here because they don't have to come see them. And I guess my righteous indignation just rose up that day and said, I cannot be part and parcel of this anymore. So I guess that's the day that I decided that I would quit as an adjuster and go over to the other side and helping the policyholders to get them. But it was terrible conditions, and you know, you look at these poor people and they're still having to make payments on their homes. They're still making full insurance payments on the homes that's now worth 10% of what it was before Katrina. And they're still having to make payments on their mortgage payments on their homes that's, again, worth 10% of what it was. And you look at these poor people and you think, you know, these people can't hold out.
Max and Rick were so angry they joined with two young computer geniuses, Tony and Troy, and they formed Branch Consultants, which is now a national leader in helping people get what they deserve from insurance companies. Branch operates all over America, investigating insurance claims and helping local law firms prepare cases, whether they be for Midwest tornadoes, western fires, southern hailstorms, horrendous hurricanes, or a broken water pipe that trashes a home. Branch is like a team of forensic crime scene investigators. They are construction and damage experts, working to help victims of insurance companies. Hard-working people such as Melanie Gonzalez, whose fight with the insurance companies almost cost her everything, including her life. Melanie and her husband were doing well before Katrina. They both worked, but on the side they had 9 rental properties, 15 units for low-income New Orleanians. They were very nice places, often the nicest homes on the block. But they were devastated in Katrina. When Melanie called her insurance company, she too was devastated. Listen closely to her story and ask yourself, what would happen if you had to call your insurance company tomorrow?
It was totally frustrating. Every time I called, I got a different individual, had to start from, square one. We're told that, adjusters would get in touch with me, and it was just through persistence and heartache that I was able to get through this experience, which cost me my position. I had to, resign basically from my job and just devote my time to trying to get through this experience.
Fighting with the insurance companies became a full-time job for Melanie. She had to give up the job she had loved for years to spend her days taking pictures of her moldy rental units and on the phone battling to get her insurance companies to pay anything, something. But this woman who had lost so much was losing even more every day.
I had to get my family out of this situation because it was my idea to first get into buying rental property after we lost most of our retirement after 9/11. And, at this point in time, I knew that I wasn't getting anywhere with my insurance company, that, they really didn't care about you. I couldn't get out the bed. I was depressed. I couldn't eat. My family was seriously worried about me committing suicide. And so when I got that ray of hope, which I had been praying for, is when I met those guys. And I gave it to them, and I said, I gave it to them, and I gave it to God, and I said, if this is meant for me to get through this, and for my family to get through this, then it'll happen. It'll happen. And by the grace of God, we did get some relief.
That's when Max Johnson and the Branch Consultants team came into Melanie's life. Max and Melanie shared Christian values and the steely determination to do what was right. Max and the Branch team began investigating what the insurance companies had done and what they'd not done to Melanie and her family. And the Branch team was able to give Melanie a branch of hope.
When we hired